All right, today we're going to do multiple representations of relationships. So today we'll be able to represent the same relationship in many ways, recognize different characteristics of representations, describe the process to create each representation, and identify the domain and range. We have a lot of vocabulary, but most of these, I think all of these were in our foldable. So if you need to look back, try and find those. In ordered pair we didn't really say, but that's this XY. Okay, but everything else is in here, which is great. So that should be taped already into the back side. So when you do the homework, you might want the foldable handy. It should be taped here. You can always take it out and then retape it. Okay, so we're going to show multiple representations of the number 5. Okay, so like 5. We could do 5 stars. 5. We could do 5 tick marks or tally marks. Then 5 you should do that way. Like 5. Afar? Is it far 5? Shun. So this is Spanish. In case you wanted to know, I'm not going to write that. Spanish, this is Somali. How else could we say the number 5? We could write it in words. In English, 5. And in Roman numerals, it's a V. So back in the day, that's what they did for 5. All right, sorry about that. There's a glitch there, so I'm not quite sure what I said before the glitch, so I'm just going to keep talking. All right, so we have a relationship here. In ordered pairs, we're going to do a table, mapping, graph, domain, and range. And we have all of that information in our handy-dandy foldable we just made. So the relationship is already there, but the relation, things we want to remember is it goes X, Y. So I'm going to just label all these points. This 2 is the X, 4 is Y. I'm going to do that for all of these. X, Y, X, Y, X, Y, X, Y. Why are there so many? X, Y. All right. I like to do the table first. So the table we can either make as a horizontal, side to side, or up and down. I prefer just to do the up and down. I'm not sure why. That's just the way my math teachers always had me do it. So for me, this is the most comfortable. But you can also go do the side to side one. Okay. So my table goes X and Y. We're just breaking apart those ordered pairs. So my X is 2, my Y is 4. That goes together, so they're across from each other. X is -1, Y is 0. X is -3, Y is 1. X is 0, Y is 2. Right here, if you're getting lost, X is -3, Y is -5. Why did I put so many in this one? X is 0, Y is -5. Right, next we can either do the domain and range or we can do the mapping. So let's go to mapping. So mapping, remember, has these arrows. So we want to go X and Y. We want to go least to greatest with no repeats. So I have my X and I have my Y. Least to greatest, no repeats. So if I just look at my X's, I can either look at them up at the relation or I can just look at them in the table. What is my least X? Well, negatives are less than positives, so I'm going to start with the negatives. And -3 is actually the least number there. So -3. Then it'd be -1. I'm not going to say -3 twice, just once. Then 0. And then that +2. Okay, Y. My least, I'm going to start with the negatives, is -5. There's only one negative, so that makes it easier. Then 0, 1, 2, 4. Now I'm going to draw in arrows to indicate the movement. So I have 2, 4. So I'm going to draw an arrow from 2 to 4. Then -1, 0. -1, 0. -3, 1. So -3 on the X, 1 on the Y. 0, 2. So 0 on the X, 2 on the Y. -3, -5. So -3, -5. And then 0, -5. Okay, and that's our mapping. Like I said, if you see it in a book, these would be like in a circle, this would be in a circle. But when I draw, it always gets really messy, so this is easier. Mr. Sayers and Mr. Tyson tell you to do it differently than listen to them, I guess, if you have to. All right, now we have our graph. So remember on our graph, we have our x-axis. So this is the side to side is our x-axis. Up and down is the y-axis. The origin is in the middle, which means that's 0. Okay, I'm going to label each of those lines. So this is going to be 1, 2. Label the lines, not the spaces, because those lines are really like tick marks on our number line. 4, 5, and then to the left will be -1, -2, -3, -4, -5, -6, -7. Then down will be -1. So start at the origin and count away from the origin. So notice every time I started near that origin, I counted out. Okay, so I'm going to start 2, 4. So 2, 4 tells me to go right 2 on my x. 1, 2, up 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. -1, 0. -1 is the x, and this is my x. So I go to -1. The 0 tells me stay there. -3, 0. So I go left 3. I'm sorry, -3, 1. Up 1. I said that wrong. 0, 2. So 0 and then 2 on the y. So that one's actually on this y-axis. -3, -5. So left 3, down 5. That's at -5. So -3, -5, 0, -5. So 0, -5. Okay, now we have our domain and our range. So domain, if I look back at my foldable that I'm using, domain means the x's and the range means the y's. And it's no repeats, least to greatest. Okay, so my domain is the x's, least to greatest, no repeats. And guess what? We did it right here in our mapping. So our domain, we do this little weird squiggly. That was a bad one, but that's okay. -3, -1, 0, 2. Weird squiggly to finish off. Our range, again, we did it right here in our mapping. We went least to greatest with no repeats. So -5, 0, 1, 2, and 4. All right, last problem. This time we're not given the relationship. We're given this graph. So from this graph, we need to do the rest of them. All right, so remember this is our x-axis. This is our y-axis. So it starts with 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That was up on the y. To the left of 0 on the x would be -1, -2, -3. So always start on that origin and count outwards. And then -1, -2, -3, -4. Okay, so for my relationship, I'm going to use that little squiggly line. And then I'm doing ordered pairs. So ordered pairs is a parenthesis, and then goes x, y, parenthesis. Doesn't matter which point we start with. So I'm just going to start all the way on the left, and I'm just going to work my way to the right. So this would be on my x, that was -6. On my y, that's 1, because I go over, that's 1. So -6, +1. Okay, x, y. So I'm going to do this one next. So -4 down 2. So -4, and then that's -2. So -4